should be showing as live here in just a second. Okay, we are live, and it should be showing.
All right, cool.
Did you set it up so you could see? You should be able to see, I think.
Yep, I can see us on YouTube.
Okay. God, that is... Overhead light. I wasn't ready for this. I got one of those fancy ring lights.
Yep.
That all the YouTubers use.
Okay.
I love it for photography, but if it's the only light you're using, it's crap.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So thanks for putting up with my craziness. Phone calls and baby issues and all that good stuff. You know how it goes. So thanks for putting up with us and waiting. Tonight we have Mr. Forrest Fanning.
What's up, guys?
And Brian said he's never seen you so small.
Yep. So
Forrest does tower over most people that he stands next to, so I have to say that's a fair assessment. There's not very many people that can honestly make me feel short, and I think you're one of the few people that's done it. So kudos to you, sir.
Yeah, I always forget that I'm tall until I see other tall people or pictures and stuff, and it's like, yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, no, stoked to be on your show, and good to see some of the homies joining in on the chat. See Riley and Cusco and a bunch of new friends, so excited to chat with you guys. And it was I think you got a great channel going on, lots of good content. I seen you did is that right? There was a 5-hour interview with Sean.
Oh Lord, yeah. Yeah, that is actually Cusco's fault.
Was it really? It usually is.
He dared us to do so. He watched about the first 30 minutes, I think, maybe. And he's like, I dare you guys to go 5 more hours. And I made the mistake of saying it to Sean.
Yeah.
Not that there's an issue, because Sean could literally talk all night. But
oh yeah.
We just
That's funny to say always.
But at that point, and I'm actually cutting back. If you watch a lot of my previous interviews, I always have beer while I'm drinking. Yep. So I'm drinking while I'm doing interviews.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was just done. I was fighting to stay awake. I was like, oh, it looks so bad at the end, but everyone loves it. Like,
yeah, no, it's awesome.
What it is about it, but everyone loved that interview.
Yeah, my best friend Cody Bartolini, he did From the Ground Up podcast, and it made me laugh so hard because I think they ended up going like 3.5, 4 hours. So I was like, and that's it. If you know Cody, like that's just how he is. You know, he's got a lot to say too, and so I always bust his balls now that he did the longest ever interview, and now I guess he lost that title. So that's. But yeah, I'm gonna have to take some time to watch that whole 5 hours. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow when I'm.
Oh, dude, that's
cleaning.
It takes me. In all honesty, I've watched it once, and it took me probably a whole week to get through it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I had to take it in about an hour a segment a day. It was just so much going on there. And then you look into like the backstories and everything else, and you're just trying to put it together.
Yep.
But
yeah, no, it's
made really good YouTube time, I guess.
Yeah, I guess if you're monetized, that'd be like bank right there, right?
I don't know. I'm not monetized. I'm not even close to being monetized.
Yeah.
This is for fun, man. It's just sharing a passion. If I ever get to that point, it'd be cool. it'll
Yeah.
probably just go back to you anyways, because I keep buying from Cold Blooded Cafe. So
Hey, there you go. There you go.
Is what it is. All right, so Forrest, how did you get involved in the reptile industry?
So like everybody that usually answers that question as a kid, I loved animals. As young as I could remember, I had a fascination with just any book and going outside and seeing just the vastness and the variety of species and nature itself has always kind of been what draws me in. I remember first learning about sharks and just wanting to know about all the different kinds. And then I grew up in the Black Hills of South Dakota, where we actually have one of the oldest reptile only zoos, reptile gardens. And so went there as a kid, and they would come to our school and bring Galapagos tortoises and big Burmese pythons and all these cool animals. So I grew up, in a great environment for it, and in a place where you were always out in the woods, you're always out doing something, and just a lot of public open lands where you can just go out and explore. So did that, and then once I got turned 18, me and Desiree, who I've been with since I was 16, we moved down to Florida to go to school. I had aspirations of being a nature documentary filmmaker, and
So you wanted to be the next Steve Irwin or Jeff Corwin?
No, I
Or
liked
what are
Steve
we
Irwin.
talking
I
about?
think he was awesome, but and YouTube wasn't around then, so like I wanted to be an actual real filmmaker. More like PBS Nature was something I grew up with a strong obsession with, where these guys would go out for years and years and years, to work on one project, and it wasn't all about having this crazy eccentric personality based around you. It was more about actually documenting behavior and the animals, the hard way. And so that's what I was obsessed with. But I kind of moved down there and found out, in my opinion, just that film school wasn't really, for one, I don't think I was a very good filmmaker. Really, I didn't really have the eye for it. So that was one thing. And then I just it was a for-profit college, and I luckily had good business sense and could kind of see through the lines with that. So I bailed on that, and then Desiree wanted to go to school, so I ended up getting into sales, just kind of through, did a couple random jobs, and ended up working for Hilton hotels and doing like resort sales and stuff, and ended up being really good at that. So that worked out good for me. I guess I had like the gift of gab, and did really well at that. She did the school stuff, and I was really into the stock market from 16 to like 18, 19, and I was into trading and stuff like that. Thought that's what I wanted to do, and then all along was still being into how many times Forrest is a Brony Mixteca. All along, trying to all along still being in animals, and we moved to Florida, so like I'm going to the springs, and I'm swimming with manatees and seeing alligators and going out looking for Eastern Diamondbacks, Crotalus adamantius, and seeing one of those and just being blown away. And then started, I remember as far back as like 16 being on kingsnake.com and just kind of checking stuff out. I remember Monster Snake forums ran by Mike Wilbanks.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the early forums that I was on, and seeing one of my friends and people I looked up to the most, Ben Rennick, on there with his clean cages and beautiful captive born anacondas and stuff. And then where I guess the turning point was Ralph Davis, believe it or not. And I know a lot of you guys are your ball python connoisseurs, but a lot of the newcomers really don't even understand, or for a good reason, because it's just so long ago. The content's not really out there anymore, and they can't really understand how instrumental Ralph Davis was. But I started, watching Ralph's, back then there was barely any videos, but he ran this thing called The Journal. And The Journal was just like this reality show of Ralph, running his, I mean, he he was larger than life. He, you know, Pete Call was kind of his mentor, who was also just this eccentric, larger than life, amazing guy, you know, making a living in a business out of reptiles, you know. So this was like the start when everything was big money and there was all this drama. And so, but you know, Ralph kind of understood one of the fundamentals of all this, which is like, you know, content grabs people's attention, like Barczyk always says, but character keeps them. And Ralph Davis just had that character like nobody else ever has. I mean, you knew who all his friends were. You knew about his mom's miniature Dachshunds. You knew about, you know, his buddy Fatty. You knew about what's going on in the rat barn, what's going on with his construction business. And it was just like, I'm telling you,
it was
man,
like the first reality TV series by a reptile guy.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, I just don't think ball pythons would have been what they were without him. And so that really got me going. And so, and you know, I became what I call a calculator cowboy. So I start watching that and I start thinking, okay, if I could save up and instead of doing all this stock stuff, I could buy a bunch of Mojave females, and then I could make this many Lucy's, and then you know, like I was always a I'm gonna produce numbers game. I was never like I'm gonna make the first this or that. I was like I'm gonna crank them out. But at the same time, I was doing the same thing with rodents, and you know, because he had a little rodent business too. Even though this guy has this big contracting company, this massive house, boats, all this, he's making six figures with ball pythons, but you know, he had a good backbone with a small rodent business. So I was like, hey, that seems cool. And so I said, you know, built my first rodent rack, went to see Lindy Johnson around maybe 19, 20 years old, walked into Lindy's facility at Freedom Breeder. It's still the same facility today. And, you know, Lindy it was like the most awesome, just his larger than life personality. He was really into these like Central American boas at the time. And I walk in, I see his rodent facility, and there's guys, you know, running in and out of rooms, breeding rodents. And then you walk upstairs, and there's, you know, there's this room's full of boas. He starts pulling open drawers, and I'll just never forget these giant boas just like tagging him on the arms, and like he wouldn't even flinch, you know, they'd like bite him, and like he'd just keep talking, you know, like not even. And I was just like, this is the coolest guy I've ever seen. Oh my God. So from that point on, you know, I kind of just wanted to do it all. I wanted, you know, just like a lot of us, I guess, I wanted to be a snake breeder and a rodent breeder. But I realized, you know, kind of early on that where I was going to put my focus on was the rodents. I really liked it. And so I kind of developed that dream. And so from 19 to 25, you know, I was just kind of building, you know, saving money, figuring out what was going on. I was going to every show that there was. I mean, no matter what, you know, because we moved to Florida, then we moved out west to go to school, and because we hate Florida and we like the mountains and stuff, so we moved out west for a while. So when I met my best friend Cody Bartolini, who was who you know was a huge inspiration and mentor to me, we just kind of our personalities just clicked. I don't know. He had a lot more experience than me with animals. He had been keeping reptiles since he was like 4 years old, and you know, really specialized in venomous and a true herpetoculturist. And I was this know-it-all ball python idiot, you know, and and so you know, so we just, you know, you know, he really kind of it was just the right thing. Our energies just kind of came together, and so we eventually ended up back down in Florida, and we worked at Glades Herp for a while. At the time, they had like a Discovery Channel show. Our buddy Robbie from Get Swamped. I mean, they literally had everything. They had mammals. And it was great because I had wanted to do the film stuff, and with that Discovery Channel stuff going on and all that, I was able to get back into that and start, you know, shooting footage and helping setting up scenes and stuff. And that's really what I like doing. Like when I'm hanging out with these YouTube guys and stuff, just like trying to come up with ideas or places to go. And I like that aspect of it. So I got to do a lot of that with Robbie, and so that was really fun, and a really strong, gave me a real strong fundamental base in herps. You know, like I had to work the colubrid building, and there'd be a whole room full of different species of colubrids, and I didn't even really know how to handle snakes that great at that time. And there was this old time guy, John Decker, who's still around to this day, amazing guy. I mean, he just, would just, I mean, he was a really harsh mentor, and really, taught me how to not only just how to do reptiles, but how to live on a farm, how to roll a hose up after you use it, how to do, basic landscaping, how to just not be a millennial pussy, I guess. That's I mean, this guy broke me. Yeah, this guy broke me, dude. And
wrong with that, man. Like I'm definitely a millennial, but
yeah,
I feel like I'm in the same area. Like I've done like blue collar work almost my entire life, so
yep.
like I don't think I've ever. I make jokes at a lot of my friends because they've never had to like hold a tool or use a tool in their life. I was like, you got these really soft hands. You got millennial hands, and
Yep.
I don't think there's a time where my hands haven't like been full of calluses and stuff. But
it was funny for me because I grew up in South Dakota. All my friends are cowboys, bull riders, just these badass dudes. And I always had a big mouth, and I always talked the talk, but I couldn't use the tools. I couldn't, I was that guy out of my group, that didn't build things or didn't do that stuff. And so I guess, that's one of the things that I'm so deeply grateful for this animal world and my reptile mentors, is just like they really did bring so much to me in my life in becoming a man. And both from working there at Glades Reptile Farm, and then I kind of went from there to Dragonwood Conservancy, which is a crocodile nonprofit. And like, I mean, just the most brutal work for some. I mean, I hate the heat, and it's like I'm out there, with a machete working croc pens, and I mean, literally just like the first day, I was just like, I'm never going to be able to make it through this. And I mean, I still couldn't do it full time. Like, the crocs are always trying to dig out of the pens, and you got to be, in there, jump, you got to get in there and trap the crocodile with the shift, and you're getting stung by like bees and velvet ants that just make you want to scream and cry. And that just, I don't know, it was just a wake up call. And then, but all along the way, I'm learning about plumbing, I'm learning about electricity, I'm learning about, learning how to try to at least try to be a real naturalist and understand plants and understand the trees and understand just all these different things about how everything works. And for me, I'm not formally educated. I was a high school dropout. My dad had a family business. I was more into being an entrepreneur. And so it's not like I was
true millennial fashion.
Yeah. I mean, school just wasn't my thing, so, self-taught. So it's really awesome. And when I look back, I'm super thankful. Let's see here. Cusco said this year will probably test my manhood more than any year previous, bro. That's for sure. I don't know. I might fold. It's been a rough week, man. I've had some panic attacks and stuff with the crying all night and just no sleep. And it's like, oh, I got to work I mean, she did everything at Cold Blooded Cafe. I mean, all the customer service, all the actual hardcore stuff. That was Desiree. Everybody knows it's her behind me doing all the heavy lifting. And so now, like, she's got to be there, and it's the stress has been intense, but
it's fun, man. It's a fun ride. I promise you. The first couple of months are the hardest. Once he gets into his own little rhythm, and you guys get a schedule.
Yep.
It is the most rewarding thing. But right now, I can tell you, we just had our third, like literally days ago. Just had our third.
Wow.
And I'm like, if you don't find a way to make that kid be quiet, so I could get like my 5 hours of sleep.
Yeah,
this isn't gonna be pretty. But and then once I go to sleep, I sleep so hard that she can wake me up. Like she's my wife's told me like 2 nights ago, she had a full conversation with me, and I don't remember a single word she said to me, because that's like once I go into that sleep, it's done. But
That's me all
it's
the way.
it's
She
definitely
doesn't
rewarding,
like
man.
she won't let me like hold the baby like when we're going to sleep, because she's like, you're just gonna pass out so hard. You roll on him, you know. It's but no,
That's
it's
the one safe thing. Like once I go to sleep, I'm in the same position.
yep.
Like I do not move, but definitely once you get them into that schedule, which it usually takes a couple of months. You and Desiree both will start firing on all cylinders again, man. It's getting used to it.
Yeah, for sure. Gosh knows we're firing at each other right now, but it's good times. So say what's up, Tarantula Girl. Um, I've known Brian Barczyk for over a decade. We met
What's
at
up?
the Anaheim NARBC, and just kind of been friends ever since. Just wait till my kid tells me he's going to college in a different state. Unless he's got a scholarship, that would never happen. Me and Desiree are hardcore into Dave Ramsey and financial education. So if they wanted to go to school in another state, they'd have to move there. They'd have to live there for a year, get in-state tuition, and then they'd be good to go, because that's what we did with Desiree in 2 different states. So having college debts, I used to be so ignorant about college and kind of anti-college, and I kind of regret having those opinions. And I'm all about college as long as you guys out there do it with an intelligent mindset and don't get into debt, because that debt's going to hold you down. But don't let me get off topic with the. I don't know. I like answering chat questions.
Oh, you're good. You're good. If you see something that I miss, I have no issue with it, man. So we talked about how you started out. I mean, listening to your history, you've worked with for at least 4 or 5 of the major names that really started this industry off. What would you say was the biggest learning aspect from them? Like what do you hold still to this day with what you do off of what you learned from all your mentors?
That's a really great question, and I would say honestly that the person that's had like the biggest impact on me, and it might sound cheesy or just like, yeah, whatever, because he's such a big name, but like really Brian Barczyk, just like being lucky enough to be around him, and just seeing him, like he does it so much better than me, but like seeing this controlled chaos where he said it to me early on. He goes, you just keep throwing and you keep throwing, and then something sticks. And I watched it happen in his business so many times. Like he'd have so many crazy ideas going, and 3 of them would go to complete hell, and then 1 or 2 of them would just explode. And
Right.
But the one thing about it was he's positive and just like super excited all the time about them, and so that was kind of something I guess I tried to take from him, and the work ethic too. I mean, I've never met anybody in my life that works as hard as Brian, and I don't think I ever will. So I tried to I try to be like that, and I try to stress management is like, it's such an intense part about this. I mean, there's so many days where it's and I got to see Brian back when he had this massive collection. He was probably number 4 in the country for number of animals, also while being in the public view, which we could talk about that for hours. But when you get into farming and industrial scale production, I mean, there's never a day there's not an emergency. There's never a day where there's not some huge problem. And being able to deal with that and being able to handle that and still be positive and still be excited, that's been the most challenging thing. And so like I said, just having Brian as a mentor and friend, that was really huge for me, just being able to watch and see how he deals with that, because he's a similar guy to me. Like he you know, as far as like, you know, it really hurts him when he has like personal conflict with people or
Mm-hmm.
when people are after him. And for me, that's like a weak spot, I guess, for me, is like if I'm having an issue with a customer or an employee or something like that really can drag me down, like that. Or there being an issue with animals, like if um if I walk in one day and I see a sick animal or there's a problem, like it's just like this dark cloud over me that just like makes me want to just go and throw up, you know. And it's and that's something that you know, these are things that people don't talk about in the industry that I'm really kind of obsessed with, as far as like advancing husbandry and advancing knowledge, is like the health issues of dealing with a large collection, or especially a
Absolutely.
multi-species collection, and the different aspects of epidemiology and all these pathogens and you know, just all that stuff. It's all this stuff that there's, you know, for the longest time there's just been these, you know, this, well, buy from a good breeder, buy from this, buy from that, but like really nobody's like spilling out the real beans of what's happening everywhere from a veterinary aspect or
Mm-hmm.
from a husbandry aspect. And so um I've got a few great friends right now, you know, like just being in the like the green tree python community, and my best friend Cody Bartolini and his wife Pia, you know, basically just kind of broke open the whole, basically solved the issue, you know, with Elliot Jacobson and the people from UF
Mm-hmm.
on what's been causing respiratory infections in all pythons since probably we started keeping pythons. I mean, when people said, "Oh, it's berms being berms," no, it wasn't. It was nidovirus, you know, and there's multiple strains of it and stuff like that. So like actually learning about things like that and trying to um, push that information out there and figure out how we can do things better. That's an area I'm really hoping to leave a mark on and help donate money to the people that are, you know, I was a top sponsor for Carpet Fest this year. I was the top sponsor, which is doing nidovirus research. And my buddy Ian Bessel actually raised over, I think it was over $20,000, which like, I mean, this guy's like a one man machine, dude, just like pounding the phones, getting everybody to donate money. And, but, you know, Cody, like, you know, he's got a strong personality and he is what he is, but he's got mad integrity, dude. And when he had that issue with that snake, it's like he told everybody, and I was like, Cody, if you tell everybody, dude, you're done. Nobody will ever buy a snake from you again, man. That's just how this works. Like, just don't say anything, and you know, because like I'd never seen anybody do it, you know. And he's just like, no. They said no, we're not going to do that, and so they did that, and now we have a chance to rebuild the Python. You know, if we do the right thing, and if we test our stuff, and if we either put the stuff down or if you have the finances to set it up in a different building, but now we have this chance to rebuild healthy, strong animals that don't have that problem. And so um, that was groundbreaking. That's a groundbreaking thing that just happened, and so that's, I think that's going to be one of the biggest things in the future of keeping these animals is figuring out these problems and then making diagnostics more accessible and more affordable for everybody, so that our captive herd health as a whole can just live better lives, and we won't be spreading all this stuff around to each other, because that's what we're doing right now. And it's you know, it's always been people just want to say what's ever in their best interest. You know, like a lot of the green tree guys are like, oh, nidovirus is no big deal, they all have it, the ones that are stronger survive and we rebuild from those. And that's it's just, it's a straight up lie. It's them covering their own ass. And
Mm-hmm.
trust me, I've lost six figures in this game. I've made six figures from snakes, and I've lost, you know, just unimaginable amounts. I mean, if you want to do this and you care, if you want to spend a little money and have your little table at the flea market show, and you don't really care that much, and it's just fun being part of the crowd, okay, that's fine. But if you want to seriously put a lot of money into this, and if you want to seriously build a captive collection with a reason and a life plan for those animals, then you need to learn and you need to read before you breed. That's the bottom line. And I wish I could go back, and I wish I could have understood that more. And I have all these kids now. I never deserve. I'm on the, I'm still on the bottom level of the amount of attention I'm getting compared to other people in reptiles, that are really, really big or whatever. But because of my friends giving me a voice or whatever, now I've got this intense responsibility of young kids that are coming to me, and they're volunteering for me, or they're talking to me, or they're looking at what I do, and they're like, oh, look at Forrest, look at Zoo Dreams living the dream. I'm gonna go spend all my money and build a crazy multi-species collection, and I just want to shake their heads and say, no, don't do that. Like save
And I
up a
think
bunch of money and go travel and go see everybody and go meet everybody, and then slowly do things right. But it's so much easier for me to say
that's our
that
downfall too, though. I think, like, as collectors, because let's face it, that's what we all are. We're
yep,
like hoarding
yeah, I mean,
collectors, and we don't know how to control ourselves. But once we get into
no,
one species, we tend to jump into it. Like, I could tell you, within my first year, I was up to 10 different species.
yep,
I had to start pushing different species out because I was like, there's no way for me to set up an environment for every single one, because I literally went reptile crazy my first year, and I
we
don't have
all
enough
do.
rooms in my house to set up a freaking climate to work for them. You know
We
what I mean?
all do, man, and it's all fun and games until it goes wrong, man. But it's like,
Absolutely.
the thing that I've learned, and I just get so frustrated with myself with always, and I can preach this stuff all day long, but it's like, it's if you set up the infrastructure to do it right, if you have a quarantine shed, and then you have like an animal, a shed for animals with issues, and then you have like this room and that room, and really, like, if you look at like what I mean, they don't have a public facility that you can see, but you can see older videos of like Reptile Industries facility, top, probably the biggest breeder in the world, or second biggest breeder in the world. And they, over the years, I mean, Mark Bell was basically the first, like, first had the first racks and first, kind of big commercial guy, in some respects. I mean, there were guys before him, but they have the big pet chain contracts now, and they've had stuff happen, and so they went to separate, smaller buildings, and so I've got this building for king snakes, and this building for ball pythons, and this building for that, and they're worked by different people on different days. And but on a smaller scale, there's a lot of things you can do still to try to achieve some safety, and learning about using the right disinfectants, and reading the bottle on the disinfectant and how long it should be on there. And then, thinking about your air filtration, and any kind of chemicals you might be spraying in that room, and airflow, and all that stuff. Like, there's just a lot to learn to do it right, but you can do it right on a small scale. Like, a really useful tool for isolation, either for a new animal or for, say, a sick animal, is an incubator. Like, if you can get yourself a couple of like Nature's Spirit or Sea Serpent animal plastics incubators, and you can have one out in, say, this part of the house or the living room or whatever, and you bring a new acquisition in there, and you set it up, and you have a little trash can and its own set of forceps, and you put it in that incubator. That can be a good way to try to, like, isolate something in a different area while you're bringing it in. But and that's one, that's one thing. Like, I rag on you, a lot of the ball python guys a lot, but when you're keeping one species, and say you're buying a lot of stuff from one guy, and they do have like a closed good collection, it's a lot easier than when you're trying to bring in, this from this country, this from this country, and do all this stuff. I definitely think it's it can be it's a little easier, but it's still not to say that that there's not a bunch of dirty secrets out there. I mean, nidovirus is definitely in all the ball pythons. You're definitely, we're they're living organisms. There's just as many things that can go wrong with them as another living organism. So you got to take that into account. You get a snake in and something goes wrong, and you just you get all consumer Yelp food critic on your FBI forum about this guy sold me a snake and this happened and how dare he? It's like, what do you mean how dare he? I mean he like, does it come with like a money back guarantee that it's just going to be perfect forever? What if it has cancer? What if it has what if it was born with an enlarged heart or something else? And if you don't necropsy it, which almost nobody does because it's expensive, even if they have a $5,000 animal, they're not going to spend $250 on a necropsy from Fish Head Labs, which will, the lady that works with Fish Head Labs that does the necropsies, she's a board certified pathologist. They do those nido testings, but you should see these necropsy reports. I mean, they're absolutely state of the art. So, so just stuff like that, like that's some of the stuff that I'm really passionate about. I'm really pro veterinarian. I get really frustrated when when these breeders or whatever get online and tell some stupid anecdotal story they have about taking their snake to a dog vet and them telling them something crazy, even though your average dog vet still probably can give you a pretty good base of how to diagnose something. But there's an association called the ARAV, the Amphibian Reptile, or Association of Amphibian and Reptile Veterinarians. And if it's an ARAV vet, they're going to be on top of their stuff. They go to conferences. They know the newest, most up-to-date information. And, if you're in an area where there's a couple of them, you can kind of shop around and see who's actually fair. And you can also let them know that you're a breeder. And try to work out, just try to be like, hey, sometimes I need to bring in a couple animals and I'd like to get them tested. And they're just, the vets are progressing just as fast as we are. So
I think that's one of the hardest things is we don't really think about that aspect of it. Like, I know that's where a lot of your passion is with the veterinary side of it, but we don't look into that, we're going to get this animal. And that's one of the mistakes I made. I know that. But in my area, there's actually only one exotics vet in the entire area of probably 100 miles in any direction from me. So luckily it's in the city that I live, but even then it's so limited on what they're able to do. Like they can pick out, okay, well, I'm seeing signs of RI, but I've been around it enough. I know, I can tell you before I walk in there if my animal were to have an RI, but it's the smaller things that I just don't have an ability to really get into. So it's interesting to see it at a deeper level and finding a way to really look into it more. So I appreciate you putting that information out. I know, I think Garrett's put it out with them as well a couple of times. So.
It's it's just a bummer because we all want to hear these answers that make us feel comfortable, or we use our own confirmation bias to kind of navigate our way through hearing what we want to hear. But the reality is that it's never as simplified as you want it to be. And just like that, I remember when I was young and I'd watch Ralph Davis videos and he talked about RIs and he's like, just hit him up with some Baytril. And it's like, later on I find out, oh my God, well, with the sensitivity test, that you can get for a pretty cheap price, a lot cheaper than one of those pythons at that time, you could figure out for sure what it's sensitive to. And it might be sensitive to something as simple as penicillin you could get at Tractor Supply. And that has, that targets both gram negative and gram positive bacteria, and has like almost no effect on the animal. That was kind of an old school trick that the old school guys would do with RI, was penicillin a lot of times. But unfortunately, the things, the organisms became resistant to it, and now a lot of stuff is it doesn't work, But if you use a sensitivity test, you should just never medicate an animal without doing that. It's a really reckless thing. I mean, if you have a respiratory infection, put it in an incubator at 90 degrees with some wet paper towels under it for a week or two, and see if that will heal that respiratory infection. It's not going to heal probably the underlying cause. It could be a number of horrible, terrible things. And that's why when your local python breeder says, "Oh, well, it's got RI," it's just not that simple. I mean, it could have paramyxovirus or IBD or some horrible thing, and that RI is just a manifestation of those underlying symptoms. So, so yeah, it's that's the depressive stuff to talk about, and that's what I'm usually talking with my friends on the phone about, is some new terrible thing that happened in their collection, and we're crying with each other about how to get through it. But that's, and I give Cody so much props for having that attitude. Like, I don't care. And I mean, I've literally seen him spend the last dollar he had that month on a necropsy, because he says no matter what, he's learning through that terrible experience what to do next time, and he's right, contributing to science with that information. And so, like, that's just, I don't know, that's something that more people need to try to think about. And because our big pitch, I know my big pitch for a long time as a quote unquote conservationist was, we're doing this so we can establish these species in captivity, and that's why I'm doing this. And so if that's why I'm doing this, then I should be passionate about doing it right and making sure that the animals that I'm allegedly establishing these captive assurance colonies with are the healthiest and best they can be. Because are you still there, John?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
Sorry. I was reading, no, and I get really still and quiet.
Yep, no worries. But oh, my lights just went off. Hold on a second here. Got automated lights in the reptile room. Gotta turn them back
Desiree
on.
said it's time to stop. I need help with the baby.
Okay. That's just photo period for the animals. So, but I came prepared. Got the flashlight and all that in here. So, nice. But yeah. So, like, that was my pitch for so long as a conservationist, is that's why we're doing this, is we got to set them up in captivity. And so now, after all this time, I think of, okay, if that's what I'm trying to do, then I need to put the money into doing it right. And I need to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to maintain a healthy and clean colony of animals. So I'm just going to put a lot of my focus in coming years as far as what I'm doing with captive stuff here at my place, with trying to create a facility that I can set an example for, with these young kids that come and want to work here, want to learn from me, or want to watch a video that I put out, and I can show them, hey, this is how we set up this breeding project, and this is why. And yeah, so it's yeah, I guess I'm a deep thinker. I'm always thinking about, why am I doing this? What's the purpose of all this? And some people, they're just having fun with it, and that's awesome, because they don't have to sit there and stress out about what kind of impact they think they're going to have, or what, I don't know. And that's why I don't have a YouTube, thank goodness, is because I look back at every year before, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I was so stupid, like everything I did last year was so ridiculous. And hopefully hopefully this year will be better, trying to progress and do things in a
So I guess that answers the question that Derek asked earlier. I was eventually going to get to it, but
no,
if you ever thought you would start vlogging.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about it, and I don't think I don't think you should ever medicate with a fogger. I don't think it's an um, ideal way of administering anything, especially to a snake. Their lungs just don't. Um, it's not going to be an efficient way of giving them something. But am I going to start vlogging? No, like I said, um, I don't think for me right now it's something I want to do. I'd like to put out I'm thinking of maybe doing some Instagram TV stuff that's like 3 minutes long. Um, I've always had dreams of shooting a couple documentaries. There's some species out there that I'd like to chase after, that some new species. And but I definitely would like, I get a lot of people asking me on a regular basis about, because they get excited about these species that I'm keeping, and a lot of them aren't very easy to keep, like tree monitors and abronia and stuff like that. And so I guess I need to put out some good solid information in video format for people to be able to access. And because I don't want them getting it, like tree monitors, it's real easy to get yourself into a mess with them if you don't set them up right. They don't like glass very well. You can get them too hot. They need to stay hydrated. Abronia need a lot of ventilation, lower temperatures. There's just all these things. So I'd love to put out information like that, but at the same time, I've got just really bad problem with staying focused and doing too many things. So I think if I started to be a YouTuber, I think that would just I've already just doing too many things, and I feel like I would it would just be too much. And
I think that's all of us there, brother.
Yeah,
we always like to bite off a little bit more than we could chew and play with it for a little while just to see if we could do it.
Yep. For sure. Yeah, but yeah,
Cusco just said he'll help you. No worries.
Yeah, I'd love to have Cusco work with me on documentary or something. But I probably have to get in line. There's other people wanting to do that too with him. So, but it's also it's just crazy the way the culture's changed. It's like, how many people care about a documentary anymore? It's too long. They don't want to. But
I think every form of film has its place. Like I still love the documentary type ones. Like I watch Planet Earth and Green Planet and all. Actually, I prefer watching that over kids shows for my kids. I make them watch animal documentaries.
Yep.
Which I guess that's just the animal person in me, but
yep.
Is what it is. Jeremy asked how long you've been keeping monitors and how did you get your localities that you have?
Okay, so how long have I been keeping monitors? Not all that long. I mean, I'm trying to think of what my first monitor lizard was. I know it really sparked, I think about 2 years ago when I went down to Joe Satowski's and hung out with Joe Satowski for the first time. And I got to see Kilo, the croc monitor I have now, as a little baby at Joe's house. And he had some tree monitors and stuff. And I was really just like getting the rare species bug. I had already been into Abronia and I seen the monitors. And when I seen Kilo, the croc monitor, for the first time, this little baby, it just blew my mind. I just couldn't believe it. I mean, it wasn't super skittish. It just kind of walked up his arm and was, just watching him interact with it, and then seeing the blue tree monitors, Varanus macraei, and the green tree, Varanus porcinus. I just knew I had to have them. So I started getting them, and those, those are really the two things I'm enjoying the most right now, and I'm obsessed with is the tree monitors, my croc monitor Kilo, and then the Abronia. Like I love interacting with them every day. I find them really fascinating. I think that it's just a really special experience to be able to raise them up from a baby. That's one thing. Like, I'm just not a fan of unless you have to do it for founding stock or for new blood. Like, right. I'm not a fan of bringing in older adult animals out of the wild because they're so different. I mean, me and and Cusco had like this really long talk with David Barker. And I mean, I've heard David Barker say this. I read Pythons of the World Volume 1 and 2, but like the success rate with wild caught female pythons in general across the board, any species of python, it's minuscule at best. I mean, you have very little chance of getting a non-gravid wild caught female python and breeding her and ever getting a clutch. And that's why early on in ball pythons there were some really cool morphs that came in as adult females, and they're never able to get them to reproduce. It's really a stressful thing to yank a female out of the wild, and believe it or not, it's actually a pretty stressful thing to move it across the room even. So starting with
I can understand
animals,
that. I definitely understand that. I had a stressful encounter about 2 weeks ago. You could ask Brian about that one or watch his video on it.
Yeah, I mean, I've had several friends that move their collection of stuff, emeralds or monitors or this or that, and after the move, like half the stuff dies, and sometimes it's there's underlying causes that they had a virus or something like that, and they moved, and that's what triggered that, or sometimes the stress triggered illness, but that's the bottom line. And so that's the beauty and of starting with baby animals, captive born animals, or even captive hatched animals, is that just like Plato's allegory of the cave. If you're in the cave and that's all that's where you're comfortable. And if you get out of the cave, oh my gosh, give me, this is too crazy. Get me back in the cave. And so with animals, it's the same thing. You want them to know this life of captivity from the start, and then you're going to have a lot better success rates. So that's one thing I've learned a lot with these specialized animals, is trying to start with healthy captive born stuff if possible. If not possible, then do your best to a lot of times stuff gets established from a gravid female coming in, and then somebody hatching eggs from that, and then that being the founding stock. That's actually how a lot of stuff got established in different islands. These allopatric species like tree monitors, they all stem from one ancestor, but one might have floated onto an island on a tree. I know that happened with definitely the tortoises and stuff like that, but even stuff like Corallus, like annulated tree boas and Hortolanus, the Amazon tree boas. There's a tree branch, it falls into the ocean, floats over this island, and then a couple million years go by, and instead of this green tree monitor over here in Sarong or Maruki or something in Indonesia, all of a sudden you have one on Aru Island that's jet black, like the black tree monitor, and they both descend from the same species, but allopatric separation in millions of years can create that. So I don't even remember how I got off on that rant. Holy cow! Oh, establishing, basically a gravid female, going from here to there. That's how they get established, and a lot of times that's how we establish a species for the first time in captivity, is from getting a gravid female in from the wild. So Riley said, Macrae are pretty new to Western science as well, aren't they? Only discovered on Batanta within the 17, 18 years, right? That is correct. Yeah, it's a pretty isolated population. As far as I know, Manfred Reisinger, who the yellow tree monitor is named after, he was the first white man to lay his eyes on them. And then I think maybe Wolfgang Bohm. It's one thing I've learned in reading a lot of the monitor journals, and it's funny to me about stuff is like these, how the ball python guys get all cutthroat and stab each other in the back and do all this sketchy stuff to get their hands on.
What are you talking about? They would never.
No, you newer generation guys, you don't have to deal with it as much because the stuff ain't worth any money. But when snakes were worth 50, 70 grand, you wouldn't believe what everybody would do to each other. It was chaos. But these in the science world, it's like you'll do that to steal a description from somebody. So it's pretty funny how, you know, this guy found it, this guy writes up his paper, and then another guy like basically, you know, steals that information from him, and right as he's going to publish his life's biggest accomplishment, some other guy snubs him on it. And it's so when we say, you know, it's always funny how as you get older you get cynical, or you see these people writing these long rants on Facebook about how horrible this community is specifically. It's like, give me a break. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're into horse racing or you know, Comic-Con or whatever the hell you're into. There's going to be a bunch of bullshit or BS. Sorry, kids.
You're good. You're good.
In any community, but
this is
but
an
in our
open channel.
Yep.
I put that disclaimer out a long time ago saying you're going to hear curse words, you're going to see me drink, just get over it.
Yep, definitely. But yeah, that's I don't know. I'm actually going to publish a paper and on a it's a psychological disorder in reptiles, and it's called old man herper syndrome. And you just start bitching about the community and just talking about how the kids these days do everything wrong. And back in the day, it was just, you know, everything was beautiful. The animals were perfect. We were all doing it for the right reasons. And it's like, are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, you guys, you guys were doing some of the sketchiest stuff ever done. Wild caught this, wild caught that. Nothing was living. You know, there was sketchy. I mean, there have been sketchy animal dealers for, you know, since before country was established.
We wouldn't even have these animals today if there weren't sketchy people involved in it. Like, you're not going to get these animals unless someone's smuggling them in the first place when it first started. So,
shoot, what happened?
I mean, we could sit here and talk shit about it now, but
I got
our stuff definitely got started because of smugglers
trying to get out. Okay.
So,
yep.
I mean,
but yeah, it is
what it is.
Yeah, you got to be careful with you know, just watch for those signs of old man herper syndrome, where, like I said, you're bitching about the communities. You're saying that there's, you know, if you criticize new taxonomic changes, if like you can't stay up on things, if you know, you just, cynicism will get you, man. And I'm a victim of it too. You know, it's like it's pretty funny. But yeah, I don't know. I think this community is amazing, and I've met the greatest people I ever could have imagined in this animal world. And
not watching robot feet.
And I'm really thankful for all my friends. And
sorry, little man just came up here.
Oh, what's up, buddy?
To demand watching a TV show.
That's cool. I don't blame him.
He knows better. Go play with Jen Jen. Thank you. Oh, I know I missed a couple of questions, guys. I apologize about that. And then Forrest had his stuff. I had my stuff with the kiddo. Just a little bit off on this one tonight. So,
yeah, it's been fun.
Got
some little.
Someone asked if they're still finding monitors.
If they're still finding monitors, absolutely, man. There's you know, Michael Cole who does a lot of importing, and he's got a reptile farm over in Indonesia. I was speaking with him at the Reptile Law Symposium in Washington, D.C., which was an amazing event with all our lawmakers and just kind of a small group of people in our community. And I was talking with him, and like he was working on like describing 2 new species in the Jobiensis complex, which is peach throat monitors. I think there's already, you know, there's always those, like, you know, kind of mystery, like there's one in a jar somewhere, and that's the only one ever found. There's a tree monitor or 2 like that, you know, Varanus bogarti and Varanus telenastes. Those are 2 tree monitors that are really just only known from one specimen, and they're probably out there. And I've heard there's another black tree monitor, similar species on a different island, and there's just new stuff all the time. I mean, we've only discovered such a small part really of what's out there, believe it or not. I think, just like with the Bronia, I mean, I think that, right now we're already over 30 species. I think that when it's all said and done, I think there's probably as many as 50 to 60 species of a Bronia. And, I know you guys get like crazy excited about like when you get like your world's first clown puzzle, static, whatever. But, when a new species is found, it's like, oh my gosh, like this wasn't here before. And now
I'm
there's a new
sensing a lot of
species.
hate on the morphs right now, there, Forrest.
What's that?
I'm sensing a lot of hate on morphs right now, Forrest.
Yeah, I'm a morph basher. It's
What? Don't you have morphs?
I do. I have a few random morphs. I
I'm
have a
just saying,
few.
even
I've cleansed
within,
myself.
so with the green tree pythons, are those based off of locality, or isn't that partially morph as well? Or am I wrong on that?
They're not genetically like defective, simple recessive, or incomplete dominant morphs for the most part. And some of the most beautiful ones are wild types, like the Kofiau Island canary phase yellow ones, and they've just been selectively bred, not by I'm talking smack, but they've been selectively bred by some of the like Trooper Walsh, who was the curator at the National Zoo. First guy to breed Komodos, basically as legendary as you get. He was the one who started the blue line and green tree pythons, and then Rico Walder, who was a curator at the zoo in Tennessee. Terry Phillip, another curator from Reptile Gardens. That's when I got into green tree pythons. That was the kind of guys I was looking up to. It wasn't these guys running like these Cutco knife multi-level marketing things, running around reptile shows, having these steak dinners, trying to pitch the next sucker on buying into their load of crap. It was an elite group of some of the greatest animal professionals the world's ever seen. Another guy in that group was his wife was the chief editor of National Geographic. That's what the green tree community was about, and that's what I had to look up to. But seriously, nothing against you guys with your multi-level marketing little
It's
crews
a
and
great
stuff.
marketing tool. It is a great
Yep,
marketing tool.
yep. No, it's cool. And hey, if you can create that awesome little thing and have a bunch of those people following you around and buying into your projects or whatever, if you can do that, just like if you can sell Cutco knives, from a business perspective, you can do anything. So that's the big positive to ball python breeding is you're gonna learn to be a hustler, and you can make it in anything. So how's that for putting a positive spin on
There you go.
on
There you go. Well, I think I've told you since the first time I met you, because I think the first time I met you was right after it was at Arlington, about 2 years ago, a year ago,
Yep.
something like that, and it was right after the Garrett comment about morphs, and then he called you out on morphs, and I was like, if I ever get you on, I'm gonna get you for morphs. And
Yep.
so the fact that I just heard, well, in a sense, that morphs are good as long as you learn how to sell or how to sell them.
There
I
you
think
go.
that's a
It's
win.
good.
That's a win on my part. I
Yep.
got Forrest Fanning to say morphs are a good thing for a second.
Yeah, because they can teach you how to sell BS. That's oh Lord, that's fun, man.
So
But
how
no,
many different
seriously.
species are you working with right now?
Let me try to think about that. I don't know. I know for a while that was kind of my thing because I still kind of want to have a public facility, and so I wanted to like get near that record number of species, and I was over 100 at one point, and I know I've scaled it back quite a bit. I had a bunch of different colubrids and stuff, so I don't know. I know I've got 10 species of crocodilians, which was no easy feat. I've got a lot of different species of Vibronia. But I'm trying to get out of that mindset of more is better and specialize and try to learn. That's been one of my big mistakes is just like doing so many things and not doing them the best I can do them. Like if I really want to contribute to not the knowledge base on the species that I'm working with. So if I actually have the time to be able to take weight, growth rates and give samples off to people that are doing DNA studies and shed samples and try to breed these different things in different ways. That's more valuable to me now than having a ton of different species. But I still do. I really enjoy when somebody comes over, being able to kind of show them around, and say, hey, here's some crocodiles, here's some turtles, here's heloderms, Gila monsters, and here's all these different kinds of lizards. Like, it's really fun being able to show people that even though I'm not really I don't really enjoy talking to non-reptile people about reptiles that much. It's still something. It's kind of like a responsibility to do that you have to do. And if I have a zoo someday, I will definitely be hiring other people that are really good at wearing the zoo khakis and doing those educational shows and all that, because I'd get a little stressed out doing it all day. But it's fun being able to show people the different stuff, and I enjoy that a lot. So it's fun, man.
It is fun. I love it. I honestly, I think that's my favorite part of it.
Yeah,
Like,
it is. It's so fun bringing somebody over and showing them your stuff and seeing their eyes get all wide. And, it's like the zoo curators and stuff. They'll tell you about the cage walkers, and that's just the normal people walking by, and what's going to catch their eye.
mm-hmm.
And it's never what you want it to be. It's not your favorite thing. It's their favorite thing. Like they're always gonna. It's a lot of times it's a flashy thing. It's a like here. If it's one of my blue or yellow green tree pythons, or if it's like kilo, or people really like. But the alligator snapper gets people every time. I've got a really big 100+ pound alligator snapper, and that always kind of gets people's that shock value, I guess, out of them.
I don't think I think it's a danger thing for a lot of us too. Like, we want the biggest, meanest, most dangerous looking animal possible, and that's what we get to. Like, I know venomous species are what have always drawn me in, but with a family, it's just not something I'm willing to work with right now. Like, when I'm older, well, hopefully not too much older, but when I'm older and I get more education on it and learn better handling, because I grew up with Western Diamondbacks everywhere, so they don't bother me. Like,
that's a scary snake. That's a really scary snake. One of the meanest there is a Crotalus atrox, a Western Diamondback. Those guys are crazy snakes. My dream, Derek, to answer that, my dream reptile to have in my collection, honestly, Kilo is like my croc monitor is probably my dream animal. Like, I love working with her, but one that I don't have.
You're almost done.
I'd really like to complete my tree monitor collection with Varanus boemi and Varanus keithorni. Those are, the keithorni is a tree monitor from Australia that nobody has ever had outside of Australia, and it's super rare. I think it was described by Steve Irwin's dad, or at least he wrote really the defining paper on that monitor. And then to study is definitely just the Abronia complex, to get out there in the field and to fund people out in the field who are doing that research. That's a big project. My good friend Nick Gordon from Toledo Zoo just got it was just his birthday. He was just down here yesterday, turned 27. So happy birthday, Nick. But our friendship has really turned into something positive and productive really fast. And we're founding this nonprofit called the Abronia Alliance, and we're just looking to raise money for in situ breeding, where we set up breeding operations down there for re-release, and then eventually export some of those captive specimens for assurance colonies and education up here in the States. And so being able to work with Nick, I'm super excited about that. We've already got to travel to like some universities and different zoos and meet with some of the greatest herpetologists of our time who did the defining work on Abronia, and it's all just like spiraled pretty fast with that stuff. So I'm going to be putting a lot of work into my nonprofit stuff with that, and then with Dragonwood Conservancy with the crocodile stuff. That's where I want to go with it in the future. I love Cold Blooded Cafe. I like the rodent business. I'm really trying to shy away from breeding and selling reptiles. I'd prefer to just probably just be sending specimens off to different zoos or places where I think they're the safest. But I really don't like the business side of breeding and selling reptiles, just because of a lot of the stuff we talked about earlier with all of the issues that go along with it, and what an uneducated buyer expects, and the entitlement that they have coming into keeping animals, and then thinking that they deserve to just go through this with no heartache or pain or learning, and then when they do something wrong, it's the rest of the world's fault. That's a lot of why I'm not doing that, and I'm just, I think I'll always do Cold Blooded Cafe, and but the nonprofit stuff I'm really focused on, hoping to write a book on Abronia with Nick and a few other people. And so just raising awareness and trying to have a positive impact on the world. That's what it's all about. And to do that, you've got to find ways to do things that haven't been done and reach people in ways where they haven't been reached before. So, if we don't, and if we don't show the positive nature of what we're doing, if we don't police ourselves and show that we're responsible with the animals that we're keeping, and that we're not overproducing animals, and we're doing stuff for the right reasons, and we're taking care of them the best they can be taken care of. If we don't do that, it's real easy to be divided and tear each other apart right now, and get all involved in this just ridiculous drama. But in the big picture, if we don't do everything we can to be cutting edge and show the world why we need to do this, we're not going to be able to do this anymore. So
absolutely, and I can't agree with that more. I mean, I don't know how you guys out there on the YouTube land are watching this, but if you pay attention, like Spain just banned, what was it? I think 4 different species of animals, 3 of which were either amphibian or reptilian. The UK is trying to ban multiple species of animals from being kept or sold all over the world. So I completely agree with you, Forrest. If we keep messing up and we're not caring, then we're just going to continue seeing this. And especially in the States, like the States seem to let everyone outside of the States do it for a little bit, and then they hit us. And joys of US art having our backs, and that's great. But I think a large majority of it still falls on us, and that's where we sometimes fall short, unfortunately, is we get into the mindset of, like you said, oh, I have to have all of this. And like me, I jumped into 10 different species. I was in no way set for 10 different species in my first year. I was just like, oh, snake, ooh, tortoise, snake. And then I was like, okay, well, I want to like be a part of the ball pythons right now, and that's probably not going to be a forever thing for me, but right now it's something I enjoy. It's something I can do with my kids, and we can go from there. I think in the future I'll definitely narrow down into something a little more my style. But that's just you go around and you do what you have to do. And you change as time goes. I don't know what happened to my video, guys. I apologize, but we could see and hear Forrest, and you can apparently hear me. So, is what it is. It's almost that time, anyways. So,
Yep.
I promised Forrest an hour to about an hour and a half, and I try to be a man of my word, and we're almost there.
Yep.
So, if you had to deal with just one species, Forrest, what would that one species be?
It would be probably Kilo, my crocodile monitor. I just love her so much, and she's so intelligent and more of like a bond like you have with the dog. Like I feel so attached to her. So Varanus salvadori would be the one species I would work with.
Okay.
And yeah, what about you?
What is going on? This is gonna drive me nuts. Oh well. In all honesty, I think it's Morelia. I've fallen in love with carpets. I love retics. I love playing with retics. I love the sheer size of them. I have two myself that are babies that I can't wait till they grow up. But there's just the prehistoric look in the head. You kind of get like a mixture of green tree python or Amazon tree boa and a snake that gets 8 to 12 feet long, and I think you can't beat that. So
yeah,
definitely becoming one of my favorites.
Yeah, no, Stephen Cush, my good buddy that I spend a lot of time with, and he's working here now. He's really into the scrub python complex, and I never really thought about him too much. I'd seen Barnecks a couple times and was pretty blown away with him every time. But going over to his place and seeing his Moluccans, and now he's got Halmaheras, the Tracy Eye, and all these scrubs. They're really amazing. I mean, my roots. I started as a python guy, and will always love rare pythons. I mean, Pythons of the World Volume 1 by Dave and Tracy Barker. That book really just set a fire inside of me that it was just like the greatest book ever. Just like learning about the expedition to discover the first rough scale pythons and seeing Owen Pelly's and just seeing pythons are just such a amazing group of animals, and the Morelia are really really special, and definitely a cool community and cool animals. I like I know Steven, he's got the Metcalf eye, the inland carpets, and just seeing those and the blue, kind of the blue undertones of them, or I would really like to see actually more carpets in person. I've seen a decent amount, but
the Papuan, right?
Yeah,
really big
Papuana.
on them. And I've been looking at them, and just the coloration and the patterns on them have just really caught in my eye lately.
Wait, you're talking about the Papuan python?
The Papuan carpets.
Okay, different animal. Okay. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, no, they're awesome. They're really cool snakes to keep, and
super intelligent. I think that's my biggest thing. I like animals that seem to figure things out for themselves.
Yep.
Which is kind of scary when you think about it, but at the same time, it's amazing.
Yeah. They're all, they all fill a certain ecological niche, and intelligence is kind of a tough thing to define with snakes, but
absolutely.
They definitely. I've heard though. I've heard stories of the Papuan python I'm talking about, the Papuan olive, Aphodora papuana. Okay. I've heard that's a really, really different. If you want to throw around the word intelligent, I've heard that snake is really something else. So I'm looking forward when Steven moves down here to getting to watch those grow and how they behave, because I hear they're really interesting captives and move around a lot. Kind of like comparing like a berm to a retic. Just how retics are more prone to being semi-arboreal, and they move around a lot more. They do seem to have that quote unquote intelligence. But it really is. It's amazing. You know, it's like I was showing one of my team members here the other day. They were nervous working around one of the corralis snakes, and they were saying how that's an aggressive snake, and I was like, it's not an aggressive snake. That's just how you're handling it. And you know, I took my fist and I put it right in front of the. It was a corralis ruschenbergi, a black-tailed tree boa. And it's like this snake's waiting for food, and I'm putting my hand right in front of its heat pits, and it knows that it's not food, and it just wouldn't bite me. And I was able to get it off the perch, and I can do the same thing with some of my emeralds even at night, which is not something I'd recommend, but it shows that they have that ability to differentiate between their food and then their provider of food, or you know, at least just not food. So. Agree to disagree on what? Oh, retics for a win?
Yeah.
What is it? Retics
Riley
versus
and
carpets?
Jeremy from All Time are agreeing to disagree on which one's better, retics or Morelia.
Yeah. They're two different guys, retic guys versus carpet guys, man. Retic guys are, you know, they're I'm not even going to get into that. That's one of my favorite things to screw around about.
That will be saved for another edition of Live with Forrest Fanning.
Yeah. If you want to hear my blanket generalizations for the different types of keepers, that's definitely one of my. I could do a stand-up bit about that, but yeah, no, they're all amazing animals, and it's all cool, but yeah, man.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and let this wrap up. Do you want to put out all your different companies, contacts, how to reach you?
Oh, since Matt, I was going to show this cool little Abronia here. This is a little Abronia Arita. Definitely one of my favorites. But yeah, if you want to contact me, I'm not the easiest to contact sometimes, but Facebook, Forrest Fanning, Instagram, Zoo Dreams, my wife, Instagram, Desiree AM1, coldbloodedcafe.com is our frozen rodent company. We ship anywhere in the United States. $30 flat rate shipping, best quality product, best prices. Dragonwood Conservancy, we're on Facebook. And then Abronia Alliance, we are on Instagram as well. So that's the things I'm involved in right now. So support USARK, support conservation, support you and all my friends on YouTube who are putting out great content. Just big shout out to all you guys, and thanks for letting me on here and ranting and raving and having a forest fire, as Miguel would say.
That's what it's all about, man. That's how a lot of us learn. And I'm probably going to have to get with you to get the links for all of that. But eventually on the replay, the links for all of your organizations will be put down here.
No worries, man. Awesome. So, well, next time, let's do it again. And I'll be prepared to maybe show you more animals next time. I'm sure people want to see animals. So we'll do it again sometime.
Absolutely. That would be awesome. And hopefully my camera won't flip out on us next time.
Yeah, I'm going to get a better
setup. I think you filmed it
too.
anyways, so it's all good. They weren't here to see me. They were here to see you.
Yep. No, it was a great conversation. And Riley, you're the man. Love you, bro. Thanks for everybody in the chat. Cusco, always my brother. Just good thing you got going here, and I'm really excited to see all this content you're putting out, John. You got a great thing going. You got an amazing attitude, and just keep doing what you're doing, and hope you and the family have a good night. I'm gonna go home and see Desiree and Lars and get ready for Monday shipping.
Absolutely. Thank you, Forrest.
All right. See you guys.